I want to meet James Cameron. I love his work. So I go to the meeting in his office. He's not like a regular director. He's a 6'3" raw-boned Canadian. He's done every job. He's got 5 wives too. He's an inspiration. And the 5th one worked out. He's a great guy. We talked a little bit. They said, okay, do the scene, the audition scene. I was like, I got to be honest with you. I didn't even read it. And he's like, what? I go, because I know I'm not getting the movie. Just read it to him. So I read him this scene one time. And he's like, huh. Then he goes, get Arnold down here. And all of a sudden, we see Arnold freaking Schwarzenegger walking down the stairs. And Jim Cameron said he cast me because, well, we're walking down the stairs. I said, I can take it. We did the scene one time, and it was just perfect. And Jim Cameron said, you got the part. I'm like, oh my gosh. He goes, but don't tell anyone for 2 weeks. And I was like, I swear to God, I won't tell anyone. I go, I got to go make some calls. I get out to my car. Everybody I know, everybody in Iowa, everybody I went to school with, nobody believes me. My own wife thinks I'm back on drugs.
Welcome to the Gallery and Hurley Unfiltered podcast, Iowa Football Rewind.
Subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast player to get a behind-the-scenes look that you won't find anywhere else.
Today, we are honored to have Tom Arnold, actor, comedian, and lifelong Hawkeye fan. We'll dive into his Iowa roots, his love for football, and of course, some absolutely crazy stories along the way. You won't want to miss this one.
Good to be here with you guys.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
That your heads are so different. I always, when I watch podcasts, there's 2 guys, they usually have the same look. There's usually Jesus and then this guy. But it's good. It's good that we'll talk about that. As I was researching your podcast, I forgot that Robert Gallery is your brother, Nick.
Yeah.
It's possible. It's a weird thing to me. And that's not something that wasn't embedded in my brain. Okay, I'm making an order to Taco Bell. And I'm sorry to do this on your show, man.
No, that's great.
We're pretty laid back, so anything pretty much goes.
Yeah. I always give them a good tip, the people with food, because they're handling the food and they know who's living here. McDonald's in Iowa City. Was it on Dodge? I can't remember. You work around people, and some people are crazy. If someone was super rude, their food wouldn't be ideal. But it was also the best job I ever had. The job I had at McDonald's, I worked there a year, and I loved it.
What year is this?
But when I was in college.
College.
Years ago. What was it? Probably 1980, probably, or 81, maybe 82. Okay. So 83 was the end of my college. But I got this job, and I wanted a job at Taco Bell, but they were doing lie detectors. The first question they asked is, have you ever given food to your friends? And I'm like, I can't, okay, I'm not going to work here. But McDonald's hired me because my friends, Mo and Mike and all the guys would line up and they'd be like, hey, buddy, how about it? But it's very complicated to give food to your friends back then. They just come out with a new computer system and tracked every hamburger, everything in it. The only way to do it was to pretend something had been in the heater too long and you'd thrown it away. You could count, okay, I have 3 cheeseburgers I give away. So it was very complicated. And my one friend, Mo, this is the worst thing. I gave him his food, great. And then a little while later, I see him talking to the owner, Kevin O'Brien. The O'Brien family owned the McDonald's. And he's complaining that he didn't get the right food from me, that I had given him.
For free?
I loved working there. We threw stuff into a big trash bag in the back that was 3 minutes or 5 minutes, and then you couldn't use it. So I saved the whole trash bag, and every night I took it home to my roommates. We lived up there. Motel Hell was what we called our house up there, particularly if there was an Iowa game. So Friday nights, I'd come home with all this food, and everybody gorged. Sometimes we get a bad fillet of fish. They've been sitting there all day, which seemed like a waste. And then one time we had this contest, and you give every customer a game ticket in their bag of McDonald's. You peel the sides out, and you could win $5 or a free big breakfast or something. So I was on the way back out. It was Friday night. I see a case of those, 6,000 unopened. So I'm like, hell yeah. So I take that case. We go home. We stay up all night opening those things. Our fingernails were gone. You have to peel them up. And we had 157 free big breakfasts. So I drive down, I park behind a dumpster in the back. Because if I went in and tried to cash them in, people would know. My buddy Mo goes in and he dumps them out on the counter. We're having a big Iowa Hawkeye freaking party at our place before we went over there. And this is, we have people coming in and out. And so it's like providing food. And that's what classy people do. So he dumps them out. He says, I'd like 157 free big breakfasts. And the woman's, oh, sir, I'm so sorry. Did you not read the fine print? You could only cash in one per visit. And Mo, very crafty, damn, the kids at the home are going to be. Kevin O'Brien, the owner, comes over. He heard it. He comes over and goes, excuse me, we will honor those. So I'm in my car. I see Mo with a big cardboard box full of big breakfasts just coming out like this. I'm like, hell yeah, we did it. And then behind him is Kevin O'Brien, the owner, with another big box of big. And I'm like, I'm about to lose my job in about 5 seconds. They load up the car. Kevin O'Brien looks at me and just gave me that disappointed look. If you get that for your dad, you'd rather be punched by your dad than have to be disappointed. And he didn't take the food back, but that was my last day. He really had high hopes for me because he wanted me to go to Hamburger. I was like a assistant manager material. And that's how I lost my job. Now, later in life, I got sober and I made a list of all the people I'd screwed over. And it included Paul's Discount, where I worked there in Iowa City, too.
Yeah.
And a scam where I would bring these gas heaters for $400. I had a friend come in, and then I bring it up to the front. It's never left the store and say he wants the money because they gave full money back. So it was a pretty good criminal enterprise. The bud dealer would come in the store and fill up a shopping cart full of stuff he wanted. The knives, bullets, whatever. At the end of the night, I had a giant Iowa backpack, and I'd fill that up. There may be golf clubs there. Me and the manager walked out. He'd walk right in front of me, click off the security thing. I couldn't get all the security things off. It was scary every time we made it out. And the bud guy was in his bowling league bragging about getting all this free stuff from me. And he would drive the bud truck up to my house and give us 6, 7, 8 kegs and case. They heard about that and they called my manager. I got fired. When I got sober, I thought, how much did I steal? I need to send them some money. I sent him $3,500. This is back in the day, $3,500. Kevin O'Brien, the owner of McDonald's, I call him up and I say, I apologize. I'm sorry. I'm sending you $1,500. And he cried. Then he said, no one's ever done it. And he had me right to the Ronald McDonald house. So that I hosted Saturday Night Live soon after that. And we had a sketch at McDonald's, which was, remember Bill Clinton was jogging and then eating McDonald's.
Yeah.
Something I would do. And Chris Farley, my former best man, and all these guys. And I played the manager of McDonald's. So I was Kevin O'Brien. I had that on the thing. So that's a show business happy ending thing.
Nice.
Yeah, I love McDonald's. I have no idea how to start on that story. Yeah. And I made sure he knew it. And I called him in advance. And I've gone in there many times since. His mother and father owned the original place, and then he became the owner. But he was, I suppose he's still there, a very decent guy. Although when I think about the people I knew then, I assume they look the same as they do. I turned 65 last March. Before you're 65, if you die, people are like, God, so soon. But once you're 65 and you die, people are like, he had a good run. Fuck him. You know, I feel bad about that guy. I'm always surprised when people are alive from my high school or whatever, but they are.
Well, let's talk about growing up in Ottumwa. And I know you worked at a meatpacking plant job and your journey ended you up in Iowa City.
I grew up in Ottumwa, Iowa, southeast Iowa, small farming, meatpacking community. My grandpa, who was a big referee and umpire in Iowa, him and his partner, I believe, are in the Hall of Fame. He did 4,000 games. He loved sports. So the time I was 4, he would drive me up to Iowa City to watch the Hawkeyes play. I loved it because, number one, I'm with my grandpa. And I loved the whole ambiance. I mean, we were terrible. Our football teams are terrible. But once in a while, we got to see Woody Hayes over there, or Bo Schembechler. And occasionally, Iowa beat somebody like USC. It wasn't the glory years. It was right after the Boris Evashevsky glory years. But it was just fun to be with my grandpa. Then on the way home, we'd stop by Dickie's Prairie Home. I don't know if it was there when you guys were there, but they had a buffet, all you'd eat, and super good food, super good desserts. And I go in there and gorge myself. When I was about 7 or 8, I was eating my regular thing, and the lady came over and took our check, crossed out child on the wrote adult. But I loved it. I loved the whole thing. My grandpa knew the people around us. It was just in my DNA, man. From then on, I was like, I got to go to this school. I got to get out of this town. That's where I'm going to go. I've always said, if I get to Iowa City, first of all, there's people at that college that look different than us. Everybody in my town looked the same, did the same stuff. And I'm like, I just got to get there. They have a stage there at the wheel room. Man, I just got to get up to Iowa City. It's going to change my life. It really did. But in order to afford to get to Iowa City, I had to work at Hormel, the meatpacking plant, for 3 years on the kill floor. My grandpa had worked there at the Burrell's, the other plant, for 50 years. We're Jews, too. I worked at a pork processing plant. But that's what you did. And it was a great job in our town. And I'll tell you this, when Hayden Fry came to Iowa, it had such a visceral effect to us factory workers. We'd be in there, so he really believes in himself and the team, and things started, and then it was better at work. We felt better about ourselves because we'd talk about this, and you could just feel the difference. People say sports aren't important. Sports are very important, especially when you have these monotonous jobs. And by the way, nobody was an Iowa State fan. They're all Hawkeye fans. And where I come from, the farmers wear Hawkeye coats and stuff. And I don't know how many people in my town went to University of Iowa, but there's a lot more fans, as you guys know. It's a very cool thing because we don't have a professional sports team in Iowa. And so growing up, the Hawkeyes to me were our professional sports team. And I was working the third year at the meatpacking plant, and people always ask me now, are you glad your dad made you work and didn't give you stuff? And I'm like, I'm not glad. I wish he was rich and gave me money for college. Are you kidding me? But the third year, my dream was to be on TV once. And I thought, if I'm on TV once, everybody in Ottumwa, Iowa will like me. That's obviously bullshit. But I had this dream, and I did the acting that you could do in high school, and then they had competitions, speech, and all these different things. And I would entertain at our parties, and I won some awards for different things. The third year, I started to go, shit, I don't know if that's going to happen. I see people I'm working with that are happy. There's husbands and wives that work there. There's people that work there that are happy. And I realize they're happy because they have families. This is not everything to them. Bony hands or chiseling heads. This is their job. So maybe I should try to have a family or something. And my second year, my 17-year-old girlfriend, I was 18, said she was pregnant. She lived in Queen City, Missouri. And I go, that's it. I'm getting married. I'm staying here. This is the life. And I had to drive down. Her dad's a farmer, about 6'7". I swear to God, he hated me anyway. But I had to go into his house and go, hey, Tammy is pregnant. I feel we're getting married. Like, he just wanted to kill me. But yeah, he's, okay, I wish you luck. Like, you have to do that. It turned out she was lying, thank God. I have a very low sperm count, which I found out at the University of Iowa fertility clinic. It's impossible to get to Hollywood from Ottumwa, Iowa. Nobody does that. They're realistic. They don't do that. And we went out to a bar. We got our first disco called the Jailhouse. The disco got to Ottumwa, Iowa. It got to Iowa City maybe 5 years after it was popular. It was 10 years before it got to Ottumwa, Iowa. We had the Jailhouse disco, man. And go down there. By the way, it was ruined. We had a ton of fun. But then my parents and their friends started having classes of line dancing and that bullshit, and it was over. There was nothing cool about it. But
not cool.
One night I came out of there, and the corner on the street, I saw Andy Kaufman. And Andy Kaufman was a great comedian, very different, very interesting. He was on Taxi, and he was in Ottumwa because there was a women's wrestling event at the Coliseum, and he was wrestling women. That was part of his shtick.
Oh, that was his shtick, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I wrestled him, and I went up to him, and I'm like, how are you here? And he was staying 20 miles away at Fairfield. They have the Maharishi International University. And of course, when it first started, my grandparents are like, that's where the ruse live. They fly. You know how people are. But he was studying transcendental meditation and came down to Ottumwa, went to the show, and then paid the women extra to stay and wrestle him. Just a trade. He took everybody that was left in school buses to Happy Joe's Pizza. And Happy Joe's Pizza, their taco pizza. They have a BLT. I don't know how many calories. You don't want to know. But it's so good. And I thought, if I could just be successful enough to take everybody to Happy Joe's Pizza, that's possible. And then I realized he came from Hollywood to Ottumwa, Iowa. He is standing there. It must be physically possible for me to get that way. It really inspired me. And then I got fired for the meatpacking plant because I'd actually started community college in Indian Hills Community College because I wanted to say I was not just a meatpacker, I'm a college student. It did make me feel good. I was working nights in the smokehouse all night and then go to school all day. It's the best my grades have ever been because I couldn't go out. So one night they had a community college party. And I tell my buddies, we're going. I'm going to call in sick. We're going to that party, man. I need to go to a party. And so we go to this party, Mo and Mike and I, and it ends at 7:30. It's a community college party. The average age of people is 63 years old. Community college. It's their third life. That's why they're here. Party ends about 7:30 at night. And I'm like, that's bullshit. We're going to do something collegey. And so we're going to go streak it. We went down. Mr. Quick's was our hamburger joint downtown. And so Mike and Mo and I take our clothes off, got our shorts over our head, run in there, jump up on the tables, yelling, and there's nobody there. And our buddy who works in the kitchen won't even come out and humor us. We're heading back to the door, and I go, I know where there are people. Jefferson Square Banner, stuff of the old folks, but the nurses, they'll think it's hilarious. And so we go there. The nurses did not think it was hilarious. The story of my life with women. We busted in there, busted out. This is December 12th in Iowa. It's chilly. We busted out of there, and the cops have surrounded our car because the first guy called them, and it's a small town. They're following us. Mo and Mike and I jump in the back seat and try to put on our shorts. And we're rubbing asses. And I'm like, boys, I'm going to step out of here and put on my shorts like a human being. We're arrested. So I step out. As soon as I do, a cop handcuffs me behind my back. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Everybody I've ever known drove by. It's that main street. What the fuck? Arnie, it's the worst. Do you have a dream where you're in high school and all of a sudden you realize you're in your underwear? This was completely naked, and it's very freaking cold. I actually said to the cop, take the cuffs off for a second so I get a little freaking blood flowing down here. Yeah, my show penis. Jesus. And he was so happy. I'd been arrested for things in that town where you brawl with our police department. A guy would get elected sheriff, and all the deputies were just their one qualification was they were giant rednecks who would fight people. And so I'm like, screw them. The first time I got arrested, I was 14. I'm like, dude, that never works out, and I don't recommend it. But that's what we did. Bruce Allen was 6'6". We got in a fist fight at McDonald's, and he came in there with the guys, and I had a beer. I was up the counter. He comes up and takes my beer away from me. Now I'm 15. And so I'm like, okay, and he tells me to leave. So I walk out. He sits with the other cops, and I walk right by. There's a glass window there, and instead of just going like I should have, I went up to the window, knocked on it, went like this to him. And my friends are in there like, shit. So then I had to go to the potty. So I went around the back where the potty was at the door. And my friend said he took his hat, he threw it on, got off, threw it down, and I was peeing, and this big slams me right in the back of the head. So this goes out into the street, and then this goes on, and finally he got the best of me. So he was going to take me to jail, but I had so many, it would have been hard to explain. So he just dropped me in my dad's front yard, which is worse than going to jail, it turns out. But this guy was like my enemy, the Coyote and Roadrunner or whatever. And Iowa played Tennessee. This when Willie Gault was on the team. And they're playing in Atlanta, the old Fulton County Stadium.
The Peach Bowl, 82 Peach Bowl.
My buddies and I, we drive all night. We get to the stadium. None of us, I don't think, ever been in Atlanta. But it's a different crowd. But we get to our seat, and I'm sitting right next to me was Bruce Allen. I looked at him, and I'm like, my first thought is, are we going to have to go here? And he's go Hawks. And that's what the most important thing is. We were Hawkeye fans. And then I stole somebody's Tennessee jacket because it was orange. I'm like, I'm wearing this. Is cool. Anyways, I get arrested for the public nudity. And they were so upset. They took my buddies back down and tried to have the guy, Mr. Quicks, identified. But they got off. So I'm arrested, taken to jail naked. My dad shows up. And again, my dad was a saint. He was a single dad. My mom was long gone, married 7 times in my hometown. My dad was her first husband. And she was married to the chief of police. At the end of her life, there is a documentary series about my little sister called The Queen of Meth. She was the biggest drug dealer in America. It's a pretty good doc. It's on Discovery. People always ask me, was it embarrassing having your sister be a drug dealer? And I'm like, not when I was doing drugs, it wasn't embarrassing. Pretty handy. But all the police worked for my sister. So the stepfather who loved her, all the cops. So when the DEA guy comes in the documentary, we can't tell anybody. We're going to have to just come in hard and not tell the locals. But she went to prison for 2 10-year terms, but she's out now. She's driving a forklift in Ohio. Knock on wood. Doing good. My dad comes down to bail me out. And my dad is the most respected person in our town. He's the head of the church and the Chamber of Commerce and the Cancer Society. People love my dad. He's very nice. He comes down and says, Tommy Butterwood said that you and Mike and Mo ran naked through the old folks home. And Tommy, you did some crazy stuff, but that's despicable. I didn't think you'd do that. I go, Dad, I didn't do that. It's bullshit. Sheriff Irwin is a freaking liar. I would not do that to our family name. And I didn't think so, Tommy. We stand there for a second. I'm like, can I have my underwear? I'm still naked. When you're a dad, you can't put this together. Like it was too much information. Like my sister got busted. My dad said, Tommy, did you know that Lori was a drug dealer? I'm like, everybody knows she's a drug dealer. Everybody but you. If you get arrested for public nudity at an old folks home in a small town, it will be in the newspaper. And your boss at Hormel will read it. And then you will get fired. So I got fired. I always had 2 strikes. The union was good then. You get 1 strike, and then you get 2, and you get 3, you're out. I always go back to 2 and just play on the margins there a little bit. At that time, I screwed up. So I lost my job, and I really didn't have the money to go up to Iowa City. I came up with this thing where the people in my hometown, they really supported me. I would walk 21 miles in my underwear in the middle of winter. They were satin boxers. And I called it From Here to There in Underwear. You can look it up. And people pledged money. A buddy of mine's dad owned car dealerships. He got vans, and it was like a NASCAR. Different advertising between Albia and Ottumwa. I did not rehearse or plan for it and start walking. It was the first time I was in the New York Times. It was the first time I was in the National Enquirer. Paul Harvey talked about me, this kid that's really taking it on himself to pay his way through college. And there's some great pictures of it. But first of all my buddies were in the van in front of me, just getting wasted and throwing beer cans at me. It was nonsense. Unless there was a TV crew there, they were just acting like normal. And we're going along, and all of a sudden, I see my grandmother. The highway didn't have a
shoulder.
I see her pull up and pull her car over on the other side and get out of her car, and she's got a full big stole. My grandma was high heels. This is in December, and I'm like, God, oh no, please, Dottie. First of all, I go, oh, she's gonna fall down or whatever. She starts walking with me. I'm just so proud of Tommy. I had hoped that this might get me a girlfriend. That's how things go. But I made enough money to get into Iowa. And
you remember how much that was? Like
$5,000. And I had a little bit of money, but just the fact that all the people in Southeast Iowa supported me, I'm so grateful. And I've tried to give back to them as much as possible. That's definitely an Iowa thing. Like this kid, that's a weird thing. He's going to walk and say, oh, we'll chip in. That's how that community was. A lot of great people. So it was a great place to go. Then I get up to Iowa City, man, and it was everything I ever thought it was. It was hard to focus on school. I wanted to get in the Iowa Writers Workshop. I audited a bunch of classes and met a bunch of people, but you really had to be focused to do that. I loved it. They had a stage, and I got to do stand-up comedy. And I told my friends, my first night, my uncle came down, we drank Gatorade Punch, which is Everclear, just plain Everclear on powdered Gatorade shots. And everybody were just hammered. I said, I'm going to be famous in 6 weeks. I'll be on Letterman in 6 weeks. It took a while, but it was so fun. The real comedians from Minneapolis that went on after me hated it because I did my crazy stuff. I had goldfish, a prop act, and so all this stuff where I pulled goldfish out and make it a sword swallower or pressure the Pope. And I eventually had to quit doing that because people were so worried about the goldfish. Believe it or not, they were like, he's killing goldfish, which doesn't seem like it'd be that big of a deal, but it was great. Then we went out and partied. And then the next time, the person from the real comedians, the club, he said, listen, if you get your friends to stay for the show, I'll give you a job at my comedy club in Minneapolis. I'm like, we're in. So I got my stuff together and I got on a bus. I had $100 and I got my trash bag full of shit. And I get up to Minneapolis. I go to the club and I say to the guy, hey, I don't have a car or a driver's license, so I got to live close to the club. And do you know anybody that needs a roommate? He's like, why? No, you don't have to live close to here. The job I offered you was one weekend for $17.50. And I'm like, shit, I moved here. And so I went to a place called Williams Pub, which is a great bar with beers of the world. And I met a waitress there who was looking for a roommate for $100 a month. So I moved in with her and the 4 other gals. If I'd have known I didn't have a job, like in my mind, I had a job, I might not have done it. But I also was so crazy when I was first doing comedy. I loved it so much. I had day jobs and stuff. So I didn't have a license, but I'd ride the back cars hundreds of miles, sleep on somebody's couch, get paid $10 or whatever, and I loved it. And Minneapolis, between 83 and 88, it was a great place for stand-up comedy. It was a great place for music, too. At my job, I worked at First Avenue, which is where Prince was filming Purple Rain at the time. Eventually, he invited me out to Paisley Park to play basketball. He was such a great athlete. I have to tell you, this is like 3 or 4 in the morning. He invited people down, and they just killed us. We're all like, fuck these guys, musicians. But they were so good, and they really cared about basketball. It was a great honor and great fun. I got to know him. He's a funny guy. People don't realize how funny Prince is, and he loves comedy. He had that thing where, it's super cool, so you can't, if you're going to be super cool, you can't love comedy. But he was a great guy, and terribly sad when he passed away. I certainly understand that disease. I'm in recovery. And I think, unfortunately, because of his religion, he couldn't get the help. Like Elvis, he thought, I can't go to rehab, or I can't stop, or I can't do this. I had Matthew Perry recently, a guy I knew very well from my group. I think I will help people, but I'm my own doctor. And I've done that before too, so I get that. So it's terribly sad when he died. But after I moved to LA and was famous, he came out, he had a show at the Hollywood Bowl over here. And so I was in the front row. And during the show, he had a cane, like a really cool, he was doing dancing or whatever he's doing. And he started pointing the cane. It was one of the brief moments where I was so single. It was in between the 4 marriages. And super beautiful women in front row. And he's pointing to come up on stage. And he points it at me. And I'm like, what? I go up on stage and we're going to sing 1999 with him. He dances around, comes up, sticks the mic in my face, and I forget the words. It's awful. So then he dances away, and I'm yelling, I got it this time, please. And he comes back and puts the mic in my face, and I know the words now. And I start, and he pulls it out. And then he just fucks with me the whole show. And afterwards, I was in the parking lot. The guy that played Urkel came up and started making fun of me because of what had happened. But it's a huge honor, obviously. Minneapolis was the right place to be for comedy. I got very lucky there. In 1983, when I first moved there, I met my first ex-wife. At the comedy club, the owner said, "Hey, I saw a woman do comedy in Denver, Colorado. I booked her this weekend. You guys are going to work together. I think you're really going to like her." Roseanne Barr was her name, and she was great. She was older than me. I'd never seen a woman like that, especially that day. She was good. She was on top of shit. People would mess with her. She did very cool. Was a feminist, she said, and I just come from a meatpacking plant. I'd never heard that word. The MC had a car, and Roseanne and I did have a car. We wanted to go out party. We used to party extremely hard, and the MC loaded us her car, and we never came back. I'd meet her somewhere in the United States. That's how our relationship was. But I was very proud of writing jokes for her. And I thought, I'm going to be a comedian. I'll try to write some jokes myself. She's my character very well, write some jokes for me. So I'm like, I guess I'm a writer now. In 1985, she went on Johnny Carson for the first time. Me and a bunch of buddies were watching the TV and back there in Minneapolis, and she killed it. And she did 2 or 3 jokes I'd written. And that's, oh shit, I can write something and then it can be on the TV. She did a HBO special a year or 2 later and asked me to play her husband in it. We were not a couple, I have to tell you. We were really good friends, buddies. So I flew out to Hollywood. It was really the first time I think I'd done that, where I came out and I played her dream husband on her HBO special. Her husband, who she was divorcing, that people didn't know that, but he played her real husband. So he has to sit there. And I thought that was super fun. Then the next year, she said, these people that do the Cosby Show want to do a TV show with me. And I want you to play my husband. But I was like, okay, I've acted some. And then I said, what if I just wrote the show? And she asked, you got to write the show. So I go out there to audition to be her husband. And I had not done a lot since the Ottumwa Community Players. She and I worked on it. We went before these big producers. It wasn't, I knew that. I'm not, and thank God, John Goodman was so good. I'm sure they were just humoring her. But I did get to write the show and produce the show. And I eventually acted a little bit. The actors of that show were unbelievably good. And it was so good for her because she hadn't done a lot of acting. They also hadn't done comedy. It just was such a great thing. I got to hire my friends from the Midwest to write the show because they were funny. We got another executive producer who had been in Hollywood for a while. And I'd say, I'll hire half the writers. You can hire the other. His guys were Hollywood guys. And I'd find comedians like McDonald or all these different guys I knew were funny on stage. If you got that, I'll teach you how to write the form of a script. Because you can teach people how to write the form of a script, but you can't teach people how to be funny. And I think there was probably 20 men and women comics that eventually wrote on the shows. It was very fun times in 6 years and great fun. But she really thought I was funny, like from day one. And that's how you get it. I know she's funny and she thinks I'm funny. So move out with my fiance 1988, January, to write the Roseanne show. I have a fiance from Minnesota. That didn't last very long. I'm out there. And by the way, my fiance, I had 4 fiancés before I had 4 wives. Like I'm always like, I got to get married. I got to have my dream come true. I want to get kids. That's what I want to have a family, unconditional love. I do have that now. I'm very happy. It was a tangled journey, but I could not be happier. But my fiance, who we broke up soon after, because I was terrible. When I was first out there and I was writing, I was partying a lot, like drugs, booze. And Roseanne came and my house goes, hey, do you do that every day? I got to Hollywood. You buy drugs by the quantity, it's so much cheaper. I go, yeah, I do it every day. Yeah, pretty much. She goes, that's bad. I go, is it? She goes, I only thought you did it when we got together every 3 months and we both did it. And I go, no, it's an everyday thing. And I knew that from that moment on, I had to hide it from everybody. I never did a drug or anything. It became a very lonely business because I was like, oh, this is a bad thing. I'm surprised I didn't realize that after getting arrested, but so I'm going to hide it and I'll just stay by myself. And it made things incredibly difficult. The second year of the show, 1989, by now the show's a huge, it's #1. The first thing that happened is Roseanne came into my office and goes, listen, nobody likes either one of us. We should get married. I'm like, that sounds like the best reason. So we were getting married. And back then, the tabloids were a big thing. And so I was talking to the other writers, like, you got to be on the show, man. We got to write you something. And then people will watch, they know you guys are a couple. And so they wrote me that character, Arnie. And I have to tell you, I was so nervous because the actors, Laurie Metcalf, all the actors were so good. And there was a section of executive producers that were rooting against me. And one actually said to Roseanne, you're emasculating him. He's going to fail at this. And it's really on you. I was scared shitless and I was doing terrible rehearsals. And then Thursday, we shot on Friday. Thursday was the rehearsal in front of the network. And that morning I worked on the thing and she gave me the best tip about acting ever. She said, when you walk into a room, you walk in balls first. That's your room. You're not timid. And it really was very helpful. And then the guys who were slapping were like, I guess he got it together. But you can't help but get better when you're with John Goodman or Laurie Metcalf or all the guys just watching how they do it. A lot of partying, again, with everybody. Respectfully, you absorb it. And I know you guys know that when you're with people, if you're on a team and you go, I'm the best guy in this team, I'm not, we're going to be. I do that with movies. If I'm the best person on a movie, I'm like, but this is terrible. But if there's people you could learn.
Podcast?
Podcast. It's hard to say. But we're different. We're different. We have different heads. Although mine's over a size 8. Like, mine's, I think, an 8.25. So I had to have a special helmet. And in high school, I was, junior high, I was a quarterback. I weighed 165 pounds. And my head, our colors were red and white. And they didn't have a red helmet, size 8.25. So they had to give me a blue helmet. This is like in Iowa. And so I was easy to find by these big, there was a lot of big people in Ottumwa, big farm that was just a target. But I did become a New York Giant fan at that moment because everybody was Bears, Ottumwa, the Packers, Kansas City. And I had this blue helmet. So I'm like, I'm going to become a New York Giant fan. And I put an NY in black electric tape. And I just started studying everything of New York Giants. Did one of you guys play on the New York Giants?
I was in their training camp a couple times.
So I became, and what's great about it, later in life, one of my best friends bought the team. Steve Tisch, his dad bought the team. But it made it so great. And Bob Tisch was this billionaire many times over. Now Steve is worth. But Bob Tisch and his brother, Larry Tisch, they started CBS, all this stuff. They owned Lowe's, theater chain, Lowe's hotels. They started with nothing. And the two of them worked their way up. All he cared about was the New York Giants. The team, the original, the people that still own half of the Mara family, that was their only job, the Giants. So they needed some cash. And so I think 1988 or 89, Bob Tisch said, I'll give you $25 million for half the team, and I'll never get in the way of anything. I just want to shake the players' hands at the games. He would, of course, that 25 million, everything does.
Good investment.
But I would go to games even before Steve, is his son, that was one of my best fans. Bob and I would go to games. And I remember the Super Bowl in Atlanta. I was down there because Bob just loved it. He's the owner of the team. He'd take me to the owners' meetings. He tried to fix me up with Georgia Frontiere. And she was older than me, and she was owner of the Rams. And he's Tommy, she likes Cowboys because I don't know. I loved it. And then was it 91? We went to another Super Bowl and somewhere in Florida. I think it was Tampa. Were we playing Tampa? Who were we playing? Trent Dilfer was the other quarterback. We were supposed to crush them. And the whole Tisch family, I went on the bus to the game, and everybody said, yeah, we're going to crush them. And they crushed us. It was awful. I wouldn't even get on the bus, the family bus, because it's too depressing to be around them. And our hotel was in Orlando, so I hitchhiked from Tampa to Orlando. It was just such a bad. Growing up in Iowa, being a Hawk fan, you don't expect to win the Super Bowl. Hey, if something exciting happens, if people don't get arrested, There's no scandal. It's fun because our expectations are not. I see some fans commenting they're out of their minds. They're like Michigan fans or something. We take what it is. We're just glad to be there. The next time he went to the Super Bowl, 2008, they call it the 2007 Super Bowl. And I was excited to go because there's no way in hell we were going to win that. Because Tom Brady, the Patriots, undefeated. No way in hell. This could be the most fun, freaking pressureless time. Is down in Arizona. I go down there with my buddy and played. The game's going along, and I'm in there, Mayor Bloomberg, all the bunch of celebrities, and we're just chilling. And then all of a sudden, about a minute and a half to go, Eli Manning is my quarterback for life. Seems like he's going to get tackled. If you ever saw his dad play, his dad got out of a lot of shit when he played college ball. Like, he was a back and forth guy, just did a lot of. He really had to get out of a lot of trouble when he played for the Vikings and the Saints because they were not good. But he did that thing like it's impossible. The guy had a hold of him, throws the ball up. You see the helmet catch, and we're like, "What the hell?" People think that was the end of the game, but it wasn't. He still had to get a touchdown with Plaxico there. It went from no expectation to everything. We had no passes because we were going to lose. We rushed the security. There's so many of us. We ended up on the field, and I was so happy for Strahan, who I've known since he was a rookie. He was on my sports show. He really started his broadcast career on the Best Damn Sports Show. It was just shocking that happened. And it reminded me that thing. Iowa's had some big wins where you're like, this isn't going to happen. And I'm going to turn TV off or whatever. And then shit happens, man. Sports is better than life because there are rules. There's a beginning, middle, and end, and literally anything can happen. And it was that. And then in 2011, again. And now we suck so bad, but I keep telling people every 10, 12, 15 years, we do something great. And it's hard with the Eagles being one of our rivals, but you figure out ways to be happy for other people. And then when my buddy Steve Tisch and John Mara put Eli Manning on the bench, if you remember at the end of his career, like I totally social media, I called out my friend, got mad. I just shit talked my buddy who Steve is the only person that's won a Super Bowl trophy and an Oscar because he produced Forrest Gump. He's done a million things. So he's very proud of me for that. But I just trashed him. People don't get it. In professional sports, there's a certain respect with somebody. And a lot of times the changes they make don't work in the case of the Giants. But it's also fun to bitch about ownership. I couldn't do that up to that point because my buddy owns the team. But now to go out and give them hell. And yeah, I love sports.
So tell us about how'd you get to the Best Damn Sports Show, period? How did that all play out? Because that was right after 2001.
2000, I was at an NFL charity thing, and a guy came up to me, a producer from Fox, said, "Hey, we're putting together a show where we have a baseball, football, basketball guy, and we'd like to have a comedian." And I'm like, he goes, "Would you be interested?" I said, "Who are the guys?" And he said, "John Kruk was the baseball guy. I remember that." And I like John Kruk. I like him. So I said, "Let's try it. Let's practice. Let's go in to a studio." And it worked. It was John Sally and Deacon Jones because Michael Irvin, who I wanted on the show, had gotten arrested. So we were waiting for Michael Irvin to and then Chris Rose. And all these guys are great. All these guys got on to phenomenal careers, but Kruk was great and it worked. I figured it'd be canceled in 6 weeks. I didn't think it'd be any good. My agent could play hardball. And they said, they're like, how much? He wants what he gets paid on sitcoms, which you don't do on a sports. And it was, especially it was Fox Sport Net. It wasn't the network it is now. It's 19 regional networks. They invested a lot of money to try to make it work. So I was very happy, very grateful. Got to sit there and meet my heroes. Sit between Willie Banks, Ernie Banks, and Willie Mays, like sitting between. I got to play football with Joe Montana, actor you, but it was they didn't know any better, so we got to do everything. And the one thing I said, I'm a fan. I'm not objective. I love the Hawkeyes. I'm going to probably hate it, but I'm not going to grill an athlete about. So don't even. I remember Lance Armstrong came on, and they're like, "You got to ask him about it." And I did. I'm like, "You didn't do something." No, that's good enough for me. Same thing. Pete Rose came on, and they're like, "You got to ask him about Gavin." I'm not doing. I would say that. They say to my ear on the show. You can hear me going, "I'm not bullshit. I'm not doing that." There are guests here. Pete Rose is funny because afterwards we had the bowling alley set up for the show. Yes, bowling, and then he said, "Okay, that's $500. Let's go." He was just
still gambling.
Would not stop, and I'm like, I like that thing. But all the Shaq was my next door neighbor the whole time he played for the Lakers. I don't know if he was our first guest, but all these guys would come on. I think a lot of athletes that wanted to have broadcast careers after, they're like, this is a different thing. Not all athletes can have broadcast careers. You guys are the unusual. But when you see somebody can, Strahan, or there's a few guys, Jalen Rose, and people, I was like, oh yeah, I like the way this guy does this. It does take work. It's like anything else. You got to practice a little bit, but you also got to have that thing. And a lot of times it's hard for superstars to have that thing. And a lot of times it's the guys in the middle that play. They can say they played, or maybe they got a ring. Baseball, the catchers make the best managers. If you look at the list, because they're back there not getting all the glory, they just see everything. And so then they go out and be successful managers. But it was the most fun I've ever had. Right after the show started, 9/11 happened. And my camera guy, whose name is Tom, the guy right here, was on one of the planes. So we had to sit around a couple of days like, this doesn't seem like something we need to continue, but we should, because sports is going to come back next week or whatever, and they're going to pull together. And then we got to honor the people that did perish. We came back the next week, respectfully, very New York oriented. Back in those days, when it comes to your team, you got to have an American League team, or else postseason, you're just pissed off. I'd always made the Yankees my American League team. We really started focusing on the Yankees and New York, for both teams. And it became sort of New York centric. Everybody in the world was focusing on it. The Yankee, my buddy, David Wells, I was at his wedding. David Wells, Wells. What was great about sports is people get back out there. George W. Bush throws a strike right down the middle, and we're united as a country, which is different now. But man, it was a good feeling, and sports was continuing because sports is important. The World Series that year, it was Arizona and the Yankees. People were like, the Yankees have to win the World Series. Well, that's the only way this could be right. I went to every game down in Arizona, a couple in New York. And what happened is Luis Gonzalez, the best reliever in the history of Rivera, he's on the mound. It is so set up for the Yankees to win this thing, Game 7. And then Luis Gonzalez, he hits a ball that goes over the second baseman Tad, and they won the game. Arizona won their first. I remember, okay, that's not the perfect ending, but it is the perfect ending. I interviewed Jeter and the guys afterwards. They were like standing out there watching. So that's how professionals are. And that's just how they go. They got their thing, but everybody was, when you put so much on one guy making one shot or one team doing one thing, it doesn't work out. But it was a great World Series, and it was a lot of fun. The Yankees were totally cool. They're probably exhausted because they had so much pressure. But I was happy for the Arizona, the Diamondbacks, because they had never. That's the great thing about sports. It seems like it has to be a certain way, but then you find a way to say, "Oh, that was good. That might be better." What ended up happening? Because if you're a real fan of sports, you can always figure out something to root for or have a little skin in the game. Yeah, that happened. Then I'll tell you quickly. Got to do all kinds of things. We got to do absurd things on the Best Time Sports Show period. I do see other shows have taken. I was watching a show on ESPN of this, the Talking Heads. I think Steve Mariucci's on this one. He used to come on the show. And then they go to a court and they're doing 4 people, whatever court. And I thought that's the dumb shit that we used to do. But we also, John Kruk wouldn't fly. So when he go home, he'd drive all the way across America back to Philadelphia. One time he's driving back, and my old Little League baseball coach died in Ottumwa. They were having a wake for him. So John, we talked him into stopping in Ottumwa when he had no idea. Like he got the heebie-jeebies anyway. But it was all set up where he filmed it. And there's my dead night coach. But John was like freaked out. It was, and his kids are like, it's such an honor. Our dad, Dean Miller, we really love that you're standing here with him, like his body. But we got to do that stuff with my sister. The second time she went to prison, the first time I really supported her, and she got a 10-year term, and I got her a good lawyer because I didn't want to go to prison for life. She had guns. When you have guns, that's extra stuff, and like the drugs. And I thought, she's got a kid that's 7, I'm going to support her, and she doesn't go to prison for life. And I got her into the Martha Stewart prison in West Virginia, her first term, which was the nicest. It's a camp. I would go out there, see my sister, and give speeches to the women's prison. And you will never be loved as much anywhere than you would be in a women's prison. And what I learned from there was that 95% of the women in that prison were there because their boyfriend's like, hey, will you deliver this for me? Or will you hold this for me? And they wouldn't turn on them. That's a real deal. She got out of prison in 2000 something. And then I got her a job at Hormel. It's the best job in town. And I thought, that's an honest job. And she was working a little bit. Then the DEA guy called me. The guy was so good at that. He goes, she's not working at Hormel anymore. I go, okay. She opened a bar. I go, oh, shit. He goes, she's drinking. I go, okay. She's dealing. And he goes, but if she quits right now, we're not going to bust her. And so I fly into Ottumwa. I'm the oldest of 7 kids. So we get my dad, we take him down to Doris, Portrait Studio, the whole thing. My sister, everybody's there. We're taking a picture with Dad, I tell him. We get in there, I walk out of there, and I say to my sister, they know you're dealing, but if you quit right now, they're not going to arrest you. She goes, mind your own effing business. She didn't say effing. And then the next week, she got arrested 10 more years in prison. And I was like, when I was talking to the prison people, I go, she needs to go to the hardcore prison where they have a chemical dependency unit where you have to accomplish something. Greenville, Illinois, as I remember, I didn't visit her for 4 years because I was pissed. She had a kid. Her first husband died in Fort Leavenworth, and then she got remarried in that brief window. That guy ended up dying in prison too. Eventually I was like, okay, I'll go visit. We took the cameras to the show. I go, that's a little buffer for me. So we go to this prison and had a very nice visit. They so interesting because the TV is all made of acrylic and all the stuff. And the people in the prison liked it when I came and I said him stuff. But that kind of broke my sister and I were okay. And then I told her, you write a book like this. And that really became the genesis of the documentary. So she's up in Ohio driving a forklift, married to another giant biker, but knock on wood, man, she's a survivor. So that's the kind of stuff we got to do. But I also got to just be around such great athletes. And as a kid, there was a lot of Hawkeye stuff, but this was just such a dream come true. And to get paid so well to do that. And I think at the end of the 4th year, they're like, we got to get on a budget or whatever. We tried everything to make it work for that. The problem was it was a 19 regional network. So you couldn't say, hey, watch the show at 10:30 tonight. Because in Cleveland, Ohio, there might be a Columbus or a hockey game. It might be 9:67 or 57 when the show. It was never on the same time. You couldn't say, here's when the show was on. You say, the show's on when the game's over, whatever that is. But it was great. Then we tried doing a show with just me, like Johnny Carson. And I got to interview Jimmy Carter, which was a great thing. I loved that because he was such a fan of baseball. He said something. He said, when his team would lose, I don't know if he was the Braves or St. Louis fan, but when he was in the White House and his team lost, it affected his quality of life. This is a real fan. I did all these things and I was disappointed when it ended, but just super grateful. And I'd go back, I'd do film different things, go on to audition to be a Raider ad, do all these things. And my favorite thing I did after the show, I came back and they said it was April Fool's Day. I don't know if this is 2006 or something. And they called me, the producers, hey, why don't you come on to do April Fool's joke? And I'm very sensitive about April Fool's jokes because everybody knows it's April Fool's Day. And it has to be so good that it's I know I'm going to do bullshit. They go, we're mocking up a book that we say you've written, and it's about behind the scenes on the sports show and athletes, and you just trash talk everybody. And you do that all behind the stuff that you were told in confidence. You put it all out there. Why you come in and talk about it? And then the guys, we're not going to tell anybody. We'll tell Chris Rose, the host. And then when it gets heated, he'll say April Fool's, whatever. And I remember at the time, Rodney Pete and Rob Dibble on the show. So I call up Strand the night before. I go, listen to this bullshit. Aaron, you got to do it here. I'm going to come on and I'm going to trash the shit out of you. And then I want us to get into a physical thing and to play the joke on all that thought there, the people there. They didn't know I told them that. You can see it on Strand posts it every April Fool's Day. But we go into it. And Strand's a good actor. I love Rodney Pete. He's a great guy. But Rob Dibble, talking about all behind the scenes stuff, and talking about trashing the old hosts and trashing, and they're actually getting a little indignant that there's a code. And then I turn to Strahan and I talk about how he was shit talk Tiki Barber. And by the way, everything I said, he actually done. So I wanted to, and we started, and he's I can see he's letting it go. And I look at Chris Rose like he's getting so nervous. I'm afraid he's going to call it. And so I had to jam my finger into Strahan's face, and he whips around, and somehow I get on top of Strahan. And Rob Dibble, who weighs about 350 pounds, and Rodney Pete was very big at the time. They jumped on my back and cracked my rib. You see I have blood. I get Strahan on the ground. He's like whining, like he just come back with his pec surgery, and he's, oh my God. And Chris, they're like, what the director's like, fade to black. They go to black. This is Friday night. Arnold finally killed the show. And the people on the East Coast, the Giants people, that's what they saw. Strahan's injured. And then after they faded to black, Strahan jumped up, had April Fool's, fucker. And it was great. But nobody saw that because they cut the camera. We had to do it. We were getting a hold of the Giants, like, what the? And then the next Monday morning, I came back and we played the whole thing. Strahan stayed in there, and I had to keep escalating and finally make contact with him. It was worth the cracked ribs and the cut over my eye. It was a great April Fool's Day.
Nick, didn't you, was your brother on? Did you go there to the show one time?
He was, yeah. I really enjoyed that. My sister, and I remember John Sally talking shit about how tall my sister was, and how she was taller than I was, and better athlete and all that.
Yeah, your brother did. And I have his jersey. I only mentioned that. It's not he wears size 14 shoes. He is 11. He's fifth grade. He is a giant. This last year, we were going up to football. He goes, I'd like a quarterback this year. And I go, okay, I'll talk to the coach. I said, and the coach like, really, you should try offensive line. And I was surprised, but he really has taken to it. He worked it, getting better. He offensive line. And this year, there was going to be a draft with all the athletes. So that coach, who's a great guy, his kid's a quarterback, obviously, calls me and goes, you're the assistant coach. I go, okay, yeah, that's a great idea. He goes, no, you have to be. So Jack's going to be on the team using me. But these guys have such great fun. But he is a giant, and Robert Gallery, good man. But yeah, we had a lot of Iowa people out there. John Sally, I saw this summer in August. My buddy is at Fanatics. Fanatics is a thing that sells memorabilia, athletes. They got a whole bunch of shit going on. And he was a fan. He was like 20 when the sports show was on. Him and all his buddies, that was their favorite thing. And he's done all these businesses. He started Raya, which is a dating thing for like rich guys and beautiful women that you have to sign up for. All kinds of guys in my business got in trouble out there. But he's always has good ideas. So he's over at Fanatics. And he wants to do a digital version of the show with Fox. I say, let's get everybody back together. So in August, we had the 20th anniversary, whatever, out in New York at the Fanatics Festival. It's plays Tom Brady is there and Travis Scott. According to my kids, so I'm going around trying to beat Travis Scott and Cuervo and all these guys. But it was a big deal, and I didn't know the setup is live. I had Sally was there, but we had Jalen Rose too, who I've always liked. Stephen A. Smith, who started on our show, and he almost became a regular. He was, but CC Sebastian filled in. He used to fill out of the show, and it was great. And just a great Michael Irvin. By the way, when there during that time when Deacon Jones was a football guy, I love Deacon Jones. I was like, we're gonna wait for Irvin. He got arrested. We're gonna wait. He's cool. And I'm glad I did. He's a character. So everybody out there, it just went great. You feel the second it started, Chris Rose got, okay, here's what we're gonna get went back there, chemistry. That felt really good. I'm happy to have that opportunity, that reunion show to reconnect with people. Men don't have to talk all the time to be friends. My buddy's Iowa game on, I'll just get a text like, did you see that? I'm like, that's how we are friends. That's how you can. Women, I think, maybe have to talk more. But John Sally, when the show first started, the first day we were getting ready to shoot the first episode of Best Side Portrait, it is important that you seem like a family. If you're on a sitcom, they don't think they know you. It's not going to work. Same with a sports show. It's got to seem like your old friends. I'm like, how do I do that? I knew Sally a little bit. He lived in Shack in his neighborhood, but I knew him a little bit. It was funny. But I went down to his dressing room because I heard a rumor that he had a big penis for a 7-foot-tall black guy. If he had a scale penis for something, that'd be a big penis. But this, a couple of the other guys are telling me. So I knock on his dressing room. Hey, Sal, listen, man, I heard that you have a big penis for a 7-foot-tall black guy. True. I go, okay, I got to see that photo. My bad. He shows it to me. It's got a very freaking elbow. But that's how and then it was like every time I looked at him, but that's how he was, very matter of fact. He's not a weirdo or anything, but you do spend a lot of time, as you guys know, in football locker rooms, and you do see
righty. Yeah.
I think we had a text exchange recently that went somewhat that direction.
It's weird if you guys are so confident with your body. You have to let people talk to you while you're drying off and stuff. And what's his name? He was a great Hawkeye. He played for Indiana. Babu?
Sanders.
He had a touch. I swear to God, and not like a Tom Arnold where you're like, I got to make this thing. Like casually, I'm like, geez, that guy, his whole life is set. That guy, and that's why we were all, did you talk to Tusk? Yeah. So I had never taken off my clothes again. Anybody. And the biggest thing is a big win, and then the coach would be like, say something to the guys or get up there and play with the band. And it's such a big honor when I go back and get to do that. I'm always afraid that I'm going to jinx them, because there was one period of time, I don't know if it was when you guys were there, but I was there and then you guys lost. So I'm like, I'm going to watch on TV, because I really do think I have an influence as a fan. It was a Michigan game. Michigan, of course, was supposed to win. I'm down there on the field. It's great. I love to hang out. There's a tunnel where the mascots hang out. It's just a shithole down there. You go back there, you can pee, you can hang out, decompress from all the people, and it comes out the side of whatever end zone. And hanging back there, and the game's tight. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to. This is hard for me. Anyway, the Hawkeyes, you guys came back and won, beat Michigan, and I've jumped right up on that bad thing. I'm back. Now I think I'm on a winning streak. I better not come back. I don't want to jinx it next week, but it really is a great feeling. When I was younger, because the teams were not good, during the Hayden years, things started happening, and then more things started. And then we beat Ohio State. Like, how's that? We had these very exciting things. And part of it was Hayden Fry was so believed. Maybe he's so full of shit. I loved him, but he believed that the Hawks, that he had the accent, and the Iowas just bought into it. Everybody bought into it. And we came through, and those moments from those years, and then Kirk Ferentz, who I love, to have that continuation, completely different dudes. And then after Hayden retired, I got to spend a lot of time with him and his wife. We did all kinds of charity fun stuff and really got to know him and really hung out with him. Because when you're the coach of the Hawkeyes, you're like, okay, this guy. But then I'm grateful that you got to hang out a lot. Dan Gable, who maybe the greatest coach of any college sport, if you look at his record, and he was such a big deal. And now, the last time I went to a Hawk game, I stayed in Lisa Bluter's basement, and she made me waffles for breakfast. We're driving to the game. I'm going to go talk to the Hawk women, Caitlin Clark, those guys. We'll give my pep talk. We drive by Gable's house, and he's got a pooper scooper in his front yard. He's picking up dog shit. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, you old man? Anyway, so then we went to the game. And to see these guys who are legends and who have earned it, to spend that time, that's a good thing about being an actor, because people are like, that's not everybody else here is a athlete, coach. It's interesting to be an actor from Iowa. Anytime somebody's from Iowa, my business, I'll stop and pay attention to their career. They're writers. It's a group of, it's pretty tight. Everybody knows each other and you support each other. But if I'm in an airport rushing, someone will yell, how about those Hawks? I'll stop and talk to them. Or if I see somebody with a Hawk things on, or a lot of people wear those to my shows. I was in Naples, Florida last week. I look out at Iowa. Oh, did you go to Iowa? That's a quiz. I went to Iowa. I probably wore the stupid shirts, but
that was the show I was at. Yeah, he was
it's
in the front row. Was he from Ottumwa too,
yeah,
or no?
There. Oh shit.
Yes.
Yeah. That show. There were several shows. That's how I met you. You were waiting patiently. You bought because the people are nice enough. They come after the show, and I have these T-shirts because I have this heart camp, biggest heart camp in America for kids with heart disease and heart defects.
We'd like to thank Tom Arnold for his appearance on episode 25. Tom is on the board of the nonprofit organization Camp del Corazon, which provides free of charge summer camp on Catalina Island for children with heart disease. These children are not eligible for other summer camping experiences due to the fact that they require round-the-clock medical supervision and care. Many of these children have had several open heart surgeries, pacemakers, and or heart transplants, and many face several more surgeries in their futures. The camp offers an opportunity to finally be normal, to forget their ailments, and to connect with others who have had similar experiences and scars. For most of these children, this is the only experience they have away from home, as they are often too sick to go on vacations or even stay overnight at a friend's house, away from their parents, who have to monitor their health on a 24-hour basis. To learn more, go to campdelcorazon.org, CORAZON.
But it's really an excuse. You take a picture of people, and you have a moment with people. And that's when you and I started. First of all, I was like, is this guy going to be full of shit? Before you start talking, he said, you're very humble, and you had a thing with Nick. But I think I gave you my number. Believe it or not, there are some women that want my number, and they're the craziest because they're like, that guy likes crazy women. I haven't had a date in 8 years. I have 4 ex-wives, and if you could have 3 ex-wives and still go, women are crazy. But if you have 4, you go, holy shit, it's me. No rush, and with the kids, it's got my head full. But now I'm thinking back to the moment that we talked there, and then I wrote your name down. I talked to these guys, and I wrote your name the way it's supposed to be spelled, Brion. And then people started, he's got an O in his name. I go, no, he doesn't. What is he? Is that his Hebrew name? And why do you have an O in your name?
My parents found it in some baby book. It's some Irish spelling. We have Irish background, so they thought it'd be creative. So
yeah,
it's unusual.
I had to change my information on the phone and argue with my buddies. I go, there's no way that he. How could that? That first thing they said. It's Brian.
That's funny.
That's fun. It's fun to see you. Where do you live, Nick?
I live in Mill Valley, California, just north of San Francisco.
Oh yeah, that's nice. Are you used to live in Brooklyn?
I was there for a bit. Yeah, exactly. Bounced around Brooklyn, out in Long Island. Yeah, for sure.
And did you have a production company? Is this part of your production company?
It is. I've worked in photo and video production for a while. I worked for Bruce Weber for a long time. how I got started. I randomly got on his travel crew, traveled for 10 years with him. And then, I've been doing some other stuff recently. This is like a project of ours that we're doing. It was slower work-wise and things with the economy and all that. So I figured fire this up and see how it went.
Things have been very slow. And really, since in my business, since COVID, and then the writer strike, the actor strike, a lot of businesses in Atlanta. We used to film everything here. And because I'm with the kids all the time, I don't freak out about I need the money because I've also in court with their mom for 8 years. She'll show up here. She'll break into my house, call the police on me, and I'll go, that didn't happen. Come in and watch the film here. But it's been an 8-year thing. So the business has slowed down, but I also don't feel like once my kids came, for the first year of their lives, they'd never seen anything of me on TV. We mom lived in the house. And then the second she moved out, I had this great moment. I'm taking the kids to school, and my son's on his iPad talking to his friend. Hey, my dad is Tom Arnold. And I have it recorded in the car. They started watching my movies pop up. And it really, to see stuff through their eyes, it's been a very cool thing. What they like and they don't like. And my son, who's got a whole fortnight, he's got to do the 3D printer. I don't know what's happening here. He was my best friend. I said this before. I walked in the house. He's on with his Fortnite buddies. He's got the screens and the PC and the PS5. And I'm like, hey, son. He's like, please, I don't want my kids to hear you. And I'm like, okay, that's bullshit. So I go to the kitchen. He has stuff, get his sister ready. And then he comes in the kitchen. He goes, Dad, will you say hi to my friends? Because he saw a picture of me and Tupac from Saturday Night Live. And I'm like, no, I will say hi to your friends. You're either in or you're out with me. That's right. I've had those relationships like that with every woman I've ever. No, you're in or you're out. He loves Snoop Dogg. Yeah, I know. Yeah. And he goes, Kobe. Yeah, when Kobe Bryant died, it was such a sad thing, but also sad for, what was it, 2020? It was so sad for my son, who was 6. They had grief counselors. Kobe and I did a bunch of stuff. We did Jerry buses. We gave him a star of fame, and our kids at a fundraiser. He's also funny. We had a big fundraiser for the kids' school, and I was in the dunk tank, right? He comes up, and it's what him and Shaq had after he got charged with whatever. And they were hating on each other, and people were picking sides. And Shaq was my next door neighbor. But he came up and said, are we cool? And I go, yeah. Because him and Shaq were cool. We're cool. He goes, hey, that's good. I appreciate that. And I was like, that's a great moment. I remember that. And then he went to the front of the line, and he had the baseballs in his hand and just drilled and knocked me into the water, and then did it again and again. It was a great thing. I don't want to tell my son. He did it. His mom for the weekend. It was a Sunday morning. I get a call from somebody in sports. And of course, are you not going to address because she's actually she went to Lower Marion. That's the thing I liked about her family. Like when I first went to visit, like, hey, where did Kobe go? Like, that's all. I want to get him home, get in a situation where I can control it, and then discuss it. They're on the street. I'm like, she goes, you aren't acting like you care. You don't want to. So I get him home, and I go, hey, we got to get a massage or something. We talk about it a little bit, and he gets a massage, and I'm getting a massage, and picks up my phone, and it's on TikTok. It's the helicopter crashing fucking TikTok, like over. So obviously I took that away. I'd never seen anything like that. I didn't know that's what social media did, and it was just awful. So we got to talk about it. He knew I had his number. He asked me to call his wife and see if she wanted to come and stay with us with the other kids. Very thoughtful. And then they had the grief counselor. We're different generations, but that was something that we connected with. The movies, they don't like them all. But kids love Arnold Schwarzenegger. We go over to his house. They love True Lies. There was a movie I made that was so shitty. I've been in 150 movies. There was a movie Brion Roberts directed, who's a buddy of mine. They had a bunch of Nickelodeon shows and other shows. And he was directing it. And I'm like, I played a camp counselor. It was so bad. And John Cena was in it. And it was so stupid. I was a counselor from Camp I Want to Be. I'm like, this movie's so bad. I'm so humiliated. And then my daughter was about 2. She saw it and she loved it. She'd watch it over. In fact, when she go to mom's for the weekend, she'd watch it at her mom's house, which I'm like, oh yeah. And then, so when you're doing it, you think, this is the worst. What's the worst movie ever did? Here's the problem with that. There's 100 people that work on these movies. It might be the best thing they ever did. And I am grateful that I had opportunity. So I am not going to do that. I will make fun of people like Steven Seagal, who was the worst. People expect that from me. That the actors work with me. Arnold, I go on the show, promote him, making fun of him a little bit, but in a good way. And Steven Seagal, I did a movie called Exit Wounds, which is Steven Seagal and DMX, who was a great, sweet dude. I think Gabrielle Union. It was a good crew. And my trailer is between DMX and Steven Seagal. And Steven Seagal, I'm just going to tell you, he's a weird dude. DMX had his music pumping. And like DMX would adopt the dog on the way to the set and bring it. The dog's like, oh, oh. He brought his remote control cars. The producer, Joel Silver, who's done a ton of stuff, he goes, hey, what am I going to, hey. But they needed DMX in the movie. But he was very sweet. He was like a kid. So I really enjoyed him. And he was good at it. Steven would get his guitar out, do his blues, and try to amp it up. And Steven Seagal at the time, he used to be very good at martial arts. By that time, he would do part of his leg kick, and then a guy come in and finish it. And I said, I'm sure I could kick his ass. I'm just telling you, he's big. As long as he didn't get on top of me, because he's big. But I still have to promote the movie, have some fun, be an Anthony Anderson, who was great cohort of the movie. And then Steven Seagal has this guy call me, this producer in Europe, and he said, Steven wants to know who's paying you to make fun of him. I swear to God. I go, nobody's paying. I'm doing it. It's all on me. And so this thing has gone on for a while. And then every time I go to Europe to make a movie, which I did a lot over COVID, the guys, I want to get you and Steven together. By now, he's implanted himself in Russia and is Putin's best buddy. Right there, it's out. So I'd like to broker a peace, get you guys together. We'll meet up in Helsinki or wherever. I go, no, I don't want to do that. It's fine with me that we don't. I have nothing against him except the Putin thing, which is big. But there's no need for us. There's no need to. He's that weird guy that thinks that you have to takes himself very seriously. Maybe he has to. Although, have you seen him lately? I just love him so bad. His hairs, and he does the fake martial arts where all the Putin guys are running at him. He barely touches them, and that's everything you need to know about Russia and Putin. That they think Steven Seagal is a big star, that he's the epitome. There's a lot of great Russian people, but Putin is just such a trashy. His whole regime is so trashy. The next movie is with a guy named Jet Li. He was the same crew, but Steven Seagal was. Yeah. Another thing Steven Seagal did, I don't know how much time you have. Here's the story I told about Steven Seagal on TV that made him so much. First of all, they made him like a $75,000 piece. It looked so great. And he's like, oh, where the hairpiece was. And so he colored his hair in with a black Sharpie. I swear to God. And if you see the movie on the big screen, you can see that. So he did that. Now, we had a seat in a houseboat. And this houseboat had doors. Depending on which way it came up to the dock of transport, you could pull in this way, have this door. Anyway, we're sitting there, and it's Anthony Anderson, me, him, the director, who's a very nice guy, very respected, comes in and starts talking about the shot. He has 7 cameras in there. There's not room. Andre Markowiak, and I think he won an Oscar for Steelbank. He started as a cinematographer. Now he's directing all these movies. Doing great. Very nice guy. He's telling Steven, let's do a walkthrough because we got all these cameras. As he was, I don't know. And so they argue for 45 minutes about how important it is. So then the director said, okay, roll cameras. So Steven Seagal stands up. And he's like, I forget what he said. I'm going to go to town and kill everybody. Then he's supposed to take a left and go out the door, but he's argued so long he's forgotten which door it is. And he takes a move to the right, and Anthony Anderson, I said, should I tell him? She's like, no. And he opens the door, and it's at night. We're drops straight into the ocean. It disappears. Kathy Anderson, he's a big boy. He's wet. We have to fish him out of the water. And I swear you can see the black Sharpie ink come up. It's a good lesson about being an a-hole, man. So that's my favorite Steven Seagal story. The next movie was with Jet Li, who I was in love with. Jet Li's a real deal. He was a judo champion of all of China. There's a lot of people there. So he's coming in, and I'm like, I got to be his best friend, man. I got to figure out a way to be Jet Li's best friend. And he comes in, and I'd gotten a tattoo when the Tiananmen Square thing happened. I was living in LA watching it live on CNN. Never seen anything like it. So I called the tattoo artist. I said, Gil, I want the Chinese tattoo. Solidarity with the students who just got crushed. Biker. He comes over, puts a tattoo on me, which I still have here. And when Jet Li gets on the set first day, I'm like, hey, check this out. And I show him the tattoo, and he starts laughing. I go, why are you laughing, love? I go, no, that says love of all mankind. And he's top. I am Chinese. And it says, man. Like Jet Li is this, his hands are this big, and he can beat the shit out of everybody. Like we had Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell, who were MMA guys at the time, and they get in to rehearse. Usually a star like that won't really rehearse or walk through it. He comes in, he's got a choreographer with him from China that does all his school. And he says to those guys, let's go. Okay, so rehearsal, it's on, because he wants to figure out how to do the. And they kept trying to get their hands on him, and they couldn't, because he's so fast. He'd get behind him and take their finger, and they'd have to tap out every time or bend their arms back. Like they could not get their hands on Jet. And he could run up the side of the thing. It was just so like a dancer, and it was so cool for everybody just to see that during rehearsals and whatever. So that was a fun thing. Why did I finish talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger? After I left Iowa, when I was a little kid, my dad, the only time we ever heard him really laugh was when there was a Bob Hope special on. Bob Hope was a guy, a comedian that went around into Vietnam or Korea and would entertain the troops and have these specials. He'd have pretty women with him and do double entendre jokes. Just my dad, what he loved. And my dad, I'd be like, I said to my brother and sister, whatever that Bob Hope does, that's what I'm doing. Because anyway, it makes that up. So one of the first things I did, probably 1989 or 90 in LA, was a Bob Hope special. And Bob Hope, best guy, called my dad. He signed all this stuff for Bob Hope. And the magic is that the guy that my dad used to watch in the same living room years later, he's watching him again, and his son is standing next to him doing a sketch with him. But there's more magical than that. But I do remember thinking too, oh shit, that's my goal. What else? I have no other dreams. I'll tell you this real quick. When I worked at Hormel, you got to make chiseling heads or whatever kind of job we did. It's 12 guys. Hog heads are coming by, the full head with the full ears on these steaks, and you cut this part out. And I remember daydreaming that I was best friends with Robin Williams. And Mork and Mindy was on that. And I got home that night, and I looked at myself in the mirror like, you got to quit having that daydream. That's too disappointing. You'll never meet Robin Williams. So 10 years later, I'm in Rob Williams' house in San Francisco. Everything good you've ever heard about Rob Williams is true and more. If I called him at 4 in the morning and said, so-and-so's in trouble, he'd be like, let's go get him, whether he knew him or not. But he was that guy. So we're sitting in his house, ready to start this movie called 9 Months. It's good. And it's Robin and Hugh Grant, Julianne Moore, Joni Cusack, Jeff Goldblum, me, the actor. And he's being a gracious host. And at the end of the dinner, it's just Rob Williams and I sit there. And I'm like, buddy, I have been here before. And he's like, in my house? I go, no, me, you, best friends. And we're not best friends. I know, but it's close enough. It's crazy close enough. Hugh Grant and I were best friends. And she just done 4 weddings and a funeral. I did True Lies. So we had a little juice. And we hit it off right away. He's British. You wouldn't think we were, but went out every night for $5 up there. Doing all the high-fiving. I love you, man. All the man best friend stuff. Madonna came to town halfway through the movie and put on a private concert in a place that was smaller than that comedy club at Naples, Off the Hook, that we talked about, and invited Hugh Grant and I to be her special guests. And she invited Hugh Grant and I drove. It doesn't matter. We go there. We're going to see Madonna. We watch Madonna. She plays her new album. That's what they used to be called, albums. And afterwards, she invites us backstage. We're like, hell yes, Madonna. So we're backstage and can't believe our luck. And almost immediately, Madonna and Hugh Grant have chemistry and are all over each other. So that goes on for a little while. And then she's like, would you gentlemen like to come up to my suite and hang out? We're like, you're damn right, would. And so Hugh Grant and I are getting on the elevator. And I go, whoa, wait a minute. I swear to God, Hugh, my feelings will not be hurt if I get out of this elevator right now and go back to our hotel by myself. And he's like, Tom, do you not want to see me fuck Madonna? I go, well, of course I do, but I don't want to be a weirdo about it. Stick around, mate. 10 minutes, I'll be fucking Madonna. I fuck. She doesn't like the story, but I love Madonna. Like, we've made up since. I love her. And so Gift Her Suite is the biggest, most beautiful suite we've ever seen. It's crazy. And we're taking it in. And she's like, gentlemen, make yourselves at home in here. I'm going to go in the other room and freshen up. So Hugh Grant grabs a bottle of $200 champagne and chugs it. And there's a giant white sheet cake there. So I go cut the quarter piece with the most frosting, and we're making ourselves at home. And after a little bit, he's 3:00. You see what I see? Yes, that's Madonna's Louis Vuitton luggage. Are you thinking what I'm thinking of? Like, yes, let's steal some shit out of there. So we go over, we're filling our pockets with her stuff. She has some kind of special spoons. And behind us, I hear, what are you assholes doing? I turn around, and she's like, oh my God, you're eating my brother's birthday cake? We're going to surprise him with that tonight. I go, do not worry. I will put this piece back. I know how to fix it. And she goes, get the F out of here. You guys are idiots. I go, no, I'm an idiot. You can still have sex with Hugh Grant. She goes, get the fuck. She runs us in the hall, slams the door behind us. And I'm like, now you don't get it. And he's like, mate, everybody fucks Madonna. We got her fucking spoons, dude. It's a much better story. We have I don't know how dirty it gets on here, but this all happened. You Google it. So the last day of a movie, you do something called a press jump. And you get a whole floor at a hotel like Four Seasons or wherever. Every actor gets a room. And 100 entertainment reporter types will come room to room. And they ask you the same questions over and over. It's not their fault. And you want to promote your movie. So you got to make your own fun here too. Hugh Grant, did I mention how funny he is? I'm doing an interview with Entertainment Tonight. He walks into my room in front of my camera and goes, hey, Tom, are you getting a hooker tonight? I'm like, what the fuck? What are you talking? I don't get hookers. I'm married, I think. You get hookers. No, you do. No, you do.
I think.
The Entertainment Tonight producer, relax, boys. We will never play that clip on Entertainment Tonight unless one of you gets arrested with a hooker tonight. And what are the odds of that happening? Pretty good, it turned out. We have a going away dinner, and all the actors are there. And I say to Hugh, hey, listen, I got to go up to Toronto for 48 hours, but there's a Dodger game Tuesday, so let's hit it, man. Let's keep this thing going. And our movie's over. I go, yeah, I know a movie's over, but you're staying here. We don't have to go to a game. We get a bite to eat or something. And he's, oh, I don't understand, Tom. Did you think we were friends? He goes, don't be offended. You cannot be friends with everybody you do a movie. We're vagabonds. We're show business friends. I'll see you in a year. I'll give you a hug. And it was hurtful, but it was also a rule of show business. I'm still learning. This is early in my career. So I landed in Toronto at 6 a.m. Sunday morning. I get an emergency phone call from my publicist. She, oh my God, did you hear what happened to Hugh Grant last night? I'm like, holy hell, did he die? And she's, worse, much worse. He was arrested with a prostitute. And I am Hugh's best friend, so I got man or woman. And people are like, yeah, unless you've been around a bunch of British people, like it's hard to. I just said Hugh Grant beats into my phone. Bloody hell, mate, where are you? You won't believe what happened last night. I just got out of jail. Oh my God, we got to get together and think of a line to tell Elizabeth. And I'm like, did you think we were friends? But that was funny. Arnold, I'll tell real quick because what we got. Arnold Schwarzenegger, when I was in the Meatpacking plant, what's that the documentary? The bodybuilding documentary is so good. Still
Pumping
Iron?
Oh, geez, that's so good.
That's amazing.
So I was out in here and I had done a bunch of movies. My first scene in a movie, which I loved. I loved Dustin Hoffman's. Very funny. And he was obsessed with me working at the Meatpacking plant. When he was promoting the movie, because my nickname at Hormel was Gunner, because when a hog is injured, you're supposed to immediately shoot it right here with your bolt gun, and then get it, hang it up, and cut its throat so the meat doesn't get gated. It's this whole system. They're injured, kill it up, and there were 5 hogs with broken legs. So I go up and I just shoot them all. I put them out of their misery, and then I go to lunch. The government guy came back and condemned, or we had to throw them all away because they'd sat there too long. Hormel was mad. I got a strike. But everybody at Hormel started calling me Gunner because of that. And Dustin often knew that. He would go on Larry King or whatever, start talking these Meatpacking stories, which a lot of people don't like it. Just to tell you. But it was a great honor. And then I'd heard there was a movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger called True Lies. The script's going around. James Cameron is directing it. And there was a part that real actors were auditioning for. And one day our agent called and said, hey, it was called William Morrison type. And James Cameron wants to meet with you for that part on True Lies. And I knew it was bullshit. I knew that William Morrison called James Cameron and said, do us a favor, have a courtesy meeting with Tom Arnold. We do a lot of business together. We know you'll never cast him, but please. So I knew that's what it was. So I'm like, I'm not going to go to that. I have self-esteem. I'm not doing it. But then I thought, I want to meet James Cameron. This is my chance to meet James Cameron. I love his work. So I go to the meeting and in his office, and he's a great guy. You know, he's not like a regular director. He's a 6'3" raw-boned Canadian, like, just very. He's done every job. He's got 5 wives too. He's an inspiration, and the 5th one worked out. But his first wife, he was a truck driver, and then she was a waitress. Whatever. He's a great guy. We talked a little bit. They said, "Hey, okay, do the scene, the audition scene." I was like, "I got to be honest with you. I didn't even read it." He's like, what? I go, because I know I'm not getting the movie, and it seems like it would hurt less if I didn't even try, which is what I try to teach my kids. And he's, you're here, it's 3 pages, just read it to me. So I read him this scene one time, and he's like, huh. Then he goes, get Arnold down here. In his loft, I didn't know Arnold Schwarzenegger was up in his loft the whole time. And all of a sudden, we see Arnold freaking Schwarzenegger walking down the stairs. And Jim Cameron said he cast me because, well, we're walking down the stairs. I said, I can take it. You know how it is. You're looking at something like, and then Arnold came up. We did the scene one time, and it was great. It was just perfect. And Jim Cameron said, you got the part. I'm like, oh my gosh. He goes, but don't tell anyone for 2 weeks. And I was like, I swear to God, I won't tell anyone the best news of my life for 2 weeks. So I go, I got to go make some calls. I get out to my car. Everybody I know, everybody in Iowa, everybody I went to school with, nobody believes me. My own wife thinks I'm back on drugs. Why would he ask you to wait 2 weeks? Or that night again, in front of my mirror, I'm washing my face. I look at myself like, again, why? Maybe that didn't happen. The reason he asked me to wait 2 weeks after the movie came out, because he didn't want to hurt my feelings, was because after that meeting, after Arnold and I did the scene, he had to drive over to Fox and meet with the chairman. He said, great news, we can start filming True Lies. I found the 3rd guy after Arnold and Jamie Lee. They're like, that's fantastic news, Jim. Who is it? And he's like, it's Tom Arnold. They're like, yeah, that's horrible news, Jim Cameron. He's like, why do you say that? Though you read the tabloids, he's like a crazy person. And Jim Cameron's, no, I don't read the tabloids, but I wrote this movie, and he's the guy. And they're like, we're very sorry, Jim. We cannot approve Tom Arnold for this movie. Jim, to his credit, said, actually, I'm the one that's sorry because I wanted to make the movie here at Fox. Now I'm going to drive down the street and make it a fucking Paramount. And they were like, okay, we'll give him a chance. Got a day-to-day thing. Now, I didn't know any of this stuff happens. Every day, the Fox guys would come to the set, I'd be hugging them. Thank you for choosing me. And they were just waiting for me to screw up. But it was the best. It was 7 months, filmed all over. I was going through a divorce, so it was just fun. And to be with these guys, I didn't realize how big of a deal it was. It was the most expensive movie ever made. And to take a chance on me, and then he let me ad lib. He didn't let anybody else. And it was just very cool. I think if I'd have known how big of a deal it was, I would have been. The movie got done. They have test screenings. And 200 people show up in the theater. They don't know what they're going to watch. It comes up on a James Cameron movie. Oh shit! Everybody's Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jamie Lee Curtis, yeah, and then Tom Arnold, and people booed. Jamie Lee Curtis, yeah, and then Tom Arnold, and people booed. People, but at the end of that movie, 2 hours and 10 minutes, when they filled out the cards, the person they liked the best was my character. They went from people that didn't know me, did not like me, to at the end, they still don't know me. And now he's good in a movie. Maybe he's a good guy. It was also because Roseanne filed for divorce in April of 1994, and True Lies hadn't come out yet. And everybody at the business said, he'll never work again. He has no talent. He rode her coattails. He'll be back in Iowa in 2 weeks. That's what they're saying. And I was like, that's probably true. But when I go back to Iowa, I'm going to have great stories to tell my grandkids. I worked on one of the best shows ever on television for 6 years. And Jim Cameron and Arnold like F those people. Man, this movie comes out. It's going to change everything. And so I'm like, I wish I could believe that. But it really did. It really did. It was like bad and then that. And not that I haven't screwed up things since, but what a great opportunity. And in life, you don't get many of those things where somebody goes to bat for you and puts it on the line, and then you come through. And so I was the right guy. So I'm very grateful. We see Arnold all the time. The kids and I give out 10,000 gifts every year at South Central. He's big on service, which is a big influence on me. We do turkeys. We have an after-school program that's raised $1.5 billion. He always said, your movie stuff is important. Your service stuff is just as important. Your charity stuff is the same. You got to think of it that way. He has always been like that. When he was governor, it was super fun because your buddy's like the governor, and there's a sports commission, and I was on the sports show then, and he used to come out there. He wanted me to be the sports commissioner for California, but I was like, I don't want to do that because if something goes sideways with me, it will reflect badly on you. Plus, everybody's asking him for a job. He was up in Sacramento during the week, and he had a whole floor of the Hyatt, maybe, with his gym shit. It was, and they'd fly back for the weekend, but he loved it. He loved being governor. He loved working with Democrats. He's a Republican. A buddy of mine was the head of the Democratic Party up the head legislature, very liberal, tough guy that swore. And I said, you and John Burton, you guys have to get together and become buddies. You have more in common than you don't. Arnold put a tent on a lawn of the Capitol, a smoking tent. They would come in there and smoke cigars together, and got a lot of stuff done. It was very fun. And then went back to movie stuff. And season 2 comes out next week of his Netflix show. And I did a couple episodes of that. I did the first season. It's like True Lies, but it's him and the daughter. It's great. They have all kinds of great, fun people. And I really enjoy that. And he's really having fun, man. And he's killing it. I always say, well, he's 12 years older than me. He's got to slow down. He gets up every day, 4:30, and seizes the day. It's so annoying. Then he gets on his bicycle. When I went to Toronto the first time to do the show, he let's go for a bike ride. I go, I don't have my motorcycle. No, I go, bicycle? Yeah, I hadn't ridden a bicycle in a while. I like to practice if I'm going to get right into traffic downtown Toronto. That right goes right up to the lights are yellow. He'll go right in, and people are like, oh, and he's like, oh, the glasses. I'm right behind him because when he goes down, I know if they hits a pothole, which is why I rode behind him when we did motorcycles, because he did go down, but he got on the gravel, and I was like, don't get on that gravel. He's up front, the Terminator, and it's when he was governor, so he had all the security. He gets on the gravel, and the bike goes down, and I go, are you okay, buddy? Jesus. I go, I think you broke your shoulder. He goes, no. They got back on the bike to get the ride the rest of the way to the Rock Store, which is a biker place. He had broken his shoulder, you know. But he's a tough guy, very nice guy, very good to my kids. And that movie holds up, True Lies. Not a lot of movies hold up, but it's like a Shawshank Redemption. If I see that movie come on, I don't care where it is in the movie, I stop. I'm like, I'm going to watch this. Wait a minute, does he get out? I hope he gets out. I hope they meet up. I'm like watching it. We're like, this is new. Oh my gosh, Andy Dufresne. Is he going to get? Oh gosh, and it ends good. That's where I know I wanted to talk about Iowa more. People out here don't talk about Iowa. They talked about Caitlin Clark, which she's handled things so freaking well.
Great, incredible.
I have to say, I knew she was great in high school and then at Iowa. Going into the pros, people's expectations were very high or very low. And I was like, oh gosh, I just want things to go fine in the middle. She has proven to deal with all this publicity, the shit that people want to make her earn and magic, which would be a great thing. But she's white and but she's handled it great, and she's been humble, and she has said, I am what there are people before me back women that came up and killed. That's why I'm here, because of them. And I am aware of that and respectful. And I also thought her first games, because she's a rookie. Like John Sally, when he was a rookie at Detroit, he came out, he was the 11th pick overall from Georgia Tech. He gets some first practice, like, I was an All-American, I'm this guy. And Rick Mahord was his teammate. And Rick Mahord is just a badass. I loved having Rick Mahord on the sports show because he made Sally so nervous. Rick Mahord take the basketball, Sally was a rookie, and kick them up into the top of the arena and make Sally go. There was no, you're a rookie. And Sal said, you realize pretty quick, they'd be in a game, and Rick Mahord would say to Sal, I'm going to get in a fight with this guy. You better get out here, fight too, or I'm going to kick your ass in front of everybody right now. I thought they're going to be rough on Caitlin Clark, which they should be. It's physical. It's a different thing, but I think she's tough. Iowa chicks are tough, I'm going to tell you. When I was growing up, boy sports were popular, but girl sports were way more popular in Iowa. The state basketball tournament of girls, this is back when I'm old, so they'd be 6-on-6. The head coach in Iowa now used to average 65 points. She's great. They make 80% of their field goals and 99% of their free throws. The state tournament, the boys was people went, but the women stayed back, especially in those days. The women from my high school did the softball state tournament. Women's sports was big, and women did rodeo. People think Iowa, the beauty contest. We did have the pork queen contest, which was a big deal. You got a scholarship, and people outside of it are like, are they insulting everyone? No, it was a big deal. We had 99 finalists from every county. So the women I went to high school with could do they were as tough as the guys. And the sports, the same way. Iowa women are tough, man.
Was it Lynn Lorenzen, I think was her name, that scored like 80 points? Like, yeah. Had like just an unbelievable number of points in a high school game.
There was a woman named Deb Coates who, I forget how much, her son had reached out to me because I was listening on an interview, the women that averaged age 70 or whatever. But the best, and this would be a good thing to wrap up, the woman in the town over, Moravia, I swear to God, you Google this. Her name was Fonda Dix. Fonda Dix was her name. Look it up. And she averaged 50 points. She was the best player. So her name was in the paper all the time. And her parents, they're big Christian too. Who doesn't think that went through? I've talked about it a lot. I swear she got married to a guy named Peters. Look it up. But she was an amazing athlete. It's one of those funny, there's a lot of Dick Trickle and different guys with unfortunate names. She was so great. She really was.
You've done a lot of things. I guess I'm curious, which one did you like the most? You were a writer, you were a comedian, you were an actor.
My first goal was to be a comedian on TV. I love that. Roseanne convinced me I should write. Comedians are writers. They write for themselves, so I could write for her. And other people, I'm like, okay, I guess I'm a writer. And then when I moved out to LA, I was a writer. I said, okay, that's my job, I'm a writer. And then when I started acting on the show, okay, I guess I'm an actor. And then I had a sports show. Then I'm a sports guy. I enjoy writing. I've got a Peabody Award, but I love acting too. And whatever pays, at this point, whatever pays the bills. The movies I do, when you need money, I have a smaller life, but it's the best life. With the strikes, people will want me to be in a movie, and my age, you should read a script. I go, I'm not going to read a script. Are they going to pay me? And will they pay me in advance, in cash? Okay, they want you one day, $30,000. Pay me in advance? Okay. I'll read the script when I get there. I don't care what it is. I'm going to go in there, do that. And a lot of them are these sci-fi movies or horror movies. Their fan base for horror movies or sci-fi is the best because I do those Comic-Cons too. And the people line up for the horror movies and like I was at Roseanne and I were at Nightmare on Elm Street. People come up to sign that stuff, and they're just very loyal. I've got all kinds of pictures of the horror stuff. So I said, I want to do. I don't care what the thing is. I'll do it. I'll go up there and do it. And what they do is, I get there. They're very excited to have me, and they hand me like 50 pages of dialogue for this one day. I go, yeah. First of all, I didn't memorize anything, so be prepared for that. But we're not gonna be able to do 50 pages. I'd like to try because you're here. And I said, I'm working 12 hours. We'll do whatever we get done. And they're going along. They'll get about 11 and a half hours, and then I'll go, you have to kill me now. So, okay, we'll change the scene. The idea is to have me in the beginning, middle, and end. Like, okay, let's kill him now. However they're going to kill him. And then, because I do have to go home. Last August, there's a movie called Drag Pirates. It's a vampire movie, but they're drag queens. Everything's got to have a hook and the movies have a little bit of a hook. Yeah, they're like, will you do this movie? And I said, I can't do the big part. First of all, they wanted me to play one of the drag pirates. And I have seen myself as a woman. I look terrible. A lot of guys can do it, man. And I said, why don't they have, there's a lot of beautiful, smoking hot drag queens. So why don't they have them do it? That'd be a really cool thing. And people like it. Okay, so then they call back, will you work one day? Me being there for 3 weeks was good, but I had something with the kids. So I go, I'll work. Okay, I'll come down on one day. But what do they want me to play? Well, here's the scene. I said, I'll read the one scene. Down, I'll take a red eye, go into Atlanta, shoot, come back, take kids to school. It's a scene where I'm very racist in a redneck southern bar. I say offensive things. One of them comes up and we get into a fight, and I die. I died when she pulls my dick off. That's how I died. I bleed to death. And pretty funny. I thought maybe later at the Comic-Cons, I could have a dick, like a rubber, and people would bring it to the side because they bring ice cube trays because of my line of true lives. What kind of a sick bitch? And I love it. Whatever I've been assigned a lot of dicks, so I'm very happy about that. I tell my manager, are you good with 30,000? I go, yeah. I go, is it my real dick that's getting pulled off? Because if it is, I need more money. Joking to my manager, who you think have a sense of humor, he calls him unbeknownst to me. So when I arrive, I go to meet the director, and a prop guy goes, can I see the dick? I'm like, oh, your manager said you didn't want to do that. We got a neck that comes out, and your esophagus is pulled out by the. I go, no, I want to do the dick thing. No, I've seen the esophagus pulled out in movies. I've seen it. Let's do that thing. So we switched it around, and that's what happened. I'm grateful to whatever I could do, and if I could make it fun. And I think there was times in my career where I did started this movie, started that movie, but sometimes I look back at those, like the kids like the Stupids, which is so freaking stupid. There's a song I sing in there, I'm My Own Grandpa, which was written by an Iowan, Glenn Miller, by the way, way back. And my character sings it. And my daughter, as we sing it at night, I have to look at the words on Google, but she knows the words. We're laying in bed singing that stupid song, is that kind of stuff. I think I rushed through a lot of stuff because my goal was this, being a dad, having kids. How do I get to that point and project my dreams on this woman, that woman, young, old, whatever, and then you make a lot of mistakes. You rush through things. Between my first and second marriage, I had 5 days. People were like, here's the people you got to go out with. And I felt like I was cheating on all of them. I went to a party the next night at David Spade's birthday party at the Viper Room here. And I met a 21-year-old woman who was from Michigan, had never lived away from home, went to Eastern Michigan University. I'm like, that's it. My last wife is older. And all my dreams are, I'm going to pay off your student loans right away. And that's who we got married. Again, I projected, okay, here's my dream. We're going to have family. I'm going to go away for a year and make movies. But that doesn't work, of course. And you do it again and again. Her dad was a huge Michigan booster, lawyers and a-hole. But Well, he used to a few Michigan games with him. Him and all his buddies. Big playing Colorado. You remember this game? The Michigan has won as far as they're concerned. Everybody's packing their lunch boxes up. He throws that 65-yard. Who was it? Westbrook.
Cordell Stewart.
Yeah.
And the stadium is silent. And I was like, we'll remember that the rest of our life. People hated me. But it was one of those things where they were so confident. Michigan people could be confident that moment. But I'm very happy with the situation. I'm glad I did a lot of things before. I dated, I drank, I had sex, I done things and travel all over. But this is what I'm good at this, and I love it. And it's the best thing, man.
I got one more story. You told me a little bit about Iowa and Miami, something about a mascot.
Yeah. Another big, I want to say another big game was Iowa, Michigan when they were number one, number two. And winning that game was
Unbelievable.
Diarrhea. What did Iowa, Miami? We go back, and The Rock was on Miami. We've done stuff together. Say, I was on that team, so that did this. We're in the stands, and they're killing us. And the game's on ESPN. But my buddy Woody is sitting next between me and Bo, and I'm trying to get him fired up. And their Ibis, that's their mascot, their dumbass mascot, pushed Herky to the ground. I know from being in the tunnel, Herky is a woman. And I was like, that's it. Like, Woody. But he went after Herky. He hurt our mascot. You got to get out there. You got to do something about it. And he just sat there and go, okay, will you bail me out of jail? Yes, I'll bail you out of jail. And he finally gets up, put the security there. He makes zigs. He gets by them, full on tackles their mascot, and then gets the shit beat out of him by their cheerleaders. The women, the men, whatever. Then gets arrested on the field and taken away in handcuffs. And he's going away. Arnie, will you get me? We'll bail you out. We'll go be down to Johnson County. After the game, we're not going to, The Rock remembered that. And then we went to, there was a gentleman's club there, and I got Woody out of jail. And I said, we're going to really treat you well. I talked to the dancer before, and he gets on stage. She handcuffs him by his back and kept hitting him with stuff. Oh, my God. It was just a funny, great Iowa story. Later in the season, the football players thought it was funny when he got tackled. One of them tackled him and tore his knee, and he couldn't be the mascot anymore. One of the big ligaments. So that was the end of that story. Have fun, man.
Unreal.
Mm-hmm.
What a journey.
That's amazing. I love that you're an Iowa guy through and through. You can tell by the way you talk why you brought your parents and family along for the ride. It resonates so many things with sports and with
always
my
wearing
brother.
the shirts and T-shirts and always promoting
yeah.
Iowa. Yeah, it's been
like
awesome.
My brother, he'd go on The Price is Right, and he'd bring my parents, and it's just all those little memories. Like the sports is like the small part, but those parts of it were great. He'd go to those award shows, so it's great to hear and connect with you in this way.
I appreciate you guys too, because I know you as younger men who played. That's a big deal. As soon as he told me that you guys were doing a podcast, I'm like, okay, that sounds good. I said it like a month or two, but a long time ago. Put it on the schedule. I don't know. We'll make it happen. Or we do it at 7 at night. I'm like, what the? I'm usually asleep, but I'm like, this will be interesting. Before this, I went back a lot of memories of Iowa. Just because I'm sitting there the whole time, like thinking this and that, and it's been a very fun thing. I know if we talk about the last time we were at the Rose Bowl, the Iowa fans are just happy to be there, and the football team acts like that too. Like, we're happy to be here. We're playing Stanford. All your family there, or Nick, were you there? Remember that?
I think my brother was there. I don't think I made that one.
That was your brother.
That was when Christian McCaffrey just went crazy, right?
Before the game, during the broadcast, they have a alumni from Iowa, that's going to be me, to say some words. And the alumni from Stanford was Condoleezza Rice, who was a defense secretary or something. So she's on the side making this really eloquent thing. And then they go to me, and I'm on the side with the reporter, but they got to do the kickoff or whatever. And McCaffrey gets the ball and comes right by the friggin', just runs away from him And then, of course, we stay when they kick, we'll get the ball, whatever. I go, I'll stay. Then they score again. And I talked to the team before the game, thank God. It's 35-7, I think. It's right behind that. And my thing when he finally came is, we got them right where we want them, Hawkeyes. And then the second half, the Stanford Bales, they're gone. And I have a whole bunch of friends because they're doctors at the park cap. They're all stuff because they've seen it. They know they're winning. They've seen palm trees before. But the Iowa people, we freaking stayed. And your brother, well, I went up there and sat in the stands, and a lot of the old players, a lot of the people that were like, we're staying till we're in California, man. We're at the Rose Bowl. And they stayed till the end. Nobody's like sad, cloudy, and out of there. They're like, we're going to have fun. And it was so beautiful, too, the sun going down. And it was just great. That's the ethos of an Iowa Hawkeye. You're there like, hey, man, we're here. All right, it's better to get your ass kicked than losing a close one. I said a couple things about Iowa State, but it's my second favorite part. When the quarterback has played at Iowa State, I always look for the Iowa guys.
Cooper DeJean, the interception.
A great Iowa thing. His girlfriend, who is smoking hot, she went to Iowa too. She posted how proud she is of him, and then I followed her because their thing is University of Iowa. She's so incredibly beautiful. And it's typical Iowa gal where she's supporting him. And after the game with the other athletes bring him in, he's just a big, goofy Iowa guy. And I just loved it. And he's happy, obviously, happy to be there. It was his 22nd birthday, made that big play. And so that made me go, okay, it would have been nice to see a team win 3 in a row, just because nobody's won 3 in a row. But other than that, I'm like, I got to have reasons to love this game. And the quarterback I like for the Eagles gets high marks before the game. Trump was there. Everybody's like, yeah, it's an honor. He's here, whatever. And they go to him, Jalen. They go, Trump's here. You have anything to say? He can go to the game. He's allowed to go. Just like he didn't do the whole MAGA thing, which made me very happy. And then to see him win. I've known Trump 40 years. He's not a sports fan. I don't think you should be president if you're not genuinely a sports fan. He goes to games, but you got to care enough to care if your team loses. Half teams. He's a businessman. He used to come on his sports show a lot, and we did a HBO special in probably 1989. Roseanne and I at one of the Trump casinos, and he was very funny. I knew him around New York. He was Donald Trump, and so we do it at his casino. And he calls me and says, "I have a friend that has a $3 million Duesenberg, or I forget, like one of those, and he will box it up and bring it up to Atlantic City, and we can build a ramp, and I will drive Roseanne on stage. I'll be her chauffeur. I'll drive her on stage, and that can be in the show." And I'm like, okay. I think I was directing them. So I'm like, that's hilarious. Now he's in the show, but it's fine. It's hilarious. He does that. And the special goes well. And about 3 weeks later, I get a call from HBO. They're like, that barber that boxed up the car, Donald Trump says is his friend, he never paid him. And it's $30,000 to get him. I go, I'll pay him. That's a hilarious story. So he wanted me to do The Apprentice, Celebrity Apprentice. He'd call the house. It's so persuasive. But I'm not a dick, but I couldn't figure out what the payoff was. Are you his apprentice? Or believe me, I needed the money. They offer a lot of money. I'm glad I didn't do it now, though. A lot of cool people did it. But he does have a way of making you, the first thing he'd say on the air is, I'm only here because of Tom Arnold. And you get tingles in your spine. That's a cool thing. I am all, wow, that's cool. And one time he said, after the show, hey, I've got a new vodka or tequila party at the Playboy Mansion. Will you come with me and meet my new girlfriend? You can see pictures of us together over one of my wives went to the Elton John's AIDS Oscar party. There's pictures of socializing, of course, and we go over to the Playboy Mansion. And I like the Playboy Mansion because they used to have movie night. I wasn't like a dude that was in there meeting the women, but I like the history. And I also wrote for Playboy magazine, which is a cool thing. And we go over there, and he introduces me to this woman, Karen McDougal. She's so beautiful. And she's got a playmate, because it's the big party. She's Playmate of the Year. So I'm like, that's cool. We meet her. And then he goes, hey, my wife's here too. Melania, get over here. And his daughter. And we all took a picture together. I remember thinking, that guy doesn't care. He's got balls of steel. That's good for business. I don't know if it's going to be good for president, but that's who he is.
He owned the USFL team.
He did. I think it was the New Jersey Generals. Somehow he got both. But also he wanted an NFL team. They said he wanted to buy the Buffalo Bills, but the NFL didn't mess around. They're like, you can't just say you have money. You have to show us. He couldn't prove that he had the $50 million in cash or whatever he had to have at the time. The bad thing is John Bon Jovi wanted to buy the Bills. It was very close, and Donald Trump sabotaged him. So he started all this about him. John Bon Jovi and his guys. He was in the casino business. He tried to be in the football business, and we did the USFL, and that did not end well. Things go that way sometimes. I don't know that he ever was a fan of a team if people say they like him. He's the quarterback said, we love Donald Trump. If you say you vote for him, you like him, you could be like Charles Manson. He goes, I can't really say anything bad about that guy. He really likes me. He murdered people. I haven't heard that. I don't know anything. But it's all about sucking up to him. And that's why Putin knows how to do it, and these dictators. And it's a little scary when you're running the country and people that were not voting for him, they're out. When you're elected president, you got to go, okay, I know a lot of people disagree with me, but we're going to come together. I'm going to do it for all Americans. I'm not going to do anything crazy. I have a lot of Republican friends that at a certain point they go, we're going to bring everybody together and we'll make some changes. We'll tighten up the budget or we'll do this, but we're going to be kind to people. I just don't think he has that. It's not his fault. No, he is authentic. When other people tried to run against him, like Ron DeSantis, he was not authentic. He tried to be like Trump, and people are like, that guy is not authentic. Screw him. You have to be authentic. And I think they went, okay, Trump he's saying a lot of stuff. We like that. He's authentic. Surely he doesn't mean everything he's saying. And so you find stuff to like. We wanted to change this country. He gave Gable a Presidential Medal of Freedom or whatever. And it's funny because Gable, when he was getting his award in the Oval Office, he also gave one to Jim Jordan. There's no comparison, Dan Gable, Jim Jordan. But when they're in the office, because when he turned to Gable at one point and he goes, look at you, you're not that big. I wonder if I could beat you. Trump says, and Gable goes, you would have no chance. That's what his shirts say that he sells, because it's really true. At least he didn't go, yeah, you beat me. No, he goes, I'm Dan Gable, and I'm sure that's the thing. You do what you do. At Naples Club, Florida has a lot of Trump. The guy that runs it was like, asked the gentleman, was he political? I'm going to say a couple things, but I'm not a political comedian, but you can't make fun of Joe Biden and Donald Trump or whoever. You really lose. You really have to be able to go all of it, because that's right. Material and all that. But I mostly talk about my life growing up in Iowa. So I appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Tom. I appreciate all your time and joining us, and great stories and memories, and really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we should try to get back for a game.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's stay connected. Let's do that. So thank you guys. You do a great job. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
All right, go Hawks. Appreciate it. Thanks, man.
Take
care.